Thanks, Nicole. Okay,
Glad
perfect.
I
We're not that
remembered.
far in.
Yeah, just a couple minutes.
Uh,
All right.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about what it means to actually, get that out there. So when you're creating your career story, you only have a certain number of characters on LinkedIn. They limit you. So you want to make sure that you're using the space appropriately and to the best advantage that you can. Your headline is probably number one area that we need to focus on using that character count correctly because you only get 220 characters, plus it sort of cuts you off once you start going to the we'll show you. We're going to do some things today to make sure you walk away with a headline. And just so you know, for the other areas, you do get a bit more in terms of word count, but you need to also balance that with white space a little bit. You don't want it to be too overwhelming. I think there are different ways to format, use emojis, bullets. There's lots of design techniques in there. But just thinking about what do you want to share with people. And as well for skills, you can list up to 50 skills in that section. Now, I don't think you should list all 50 and go, all in on that. I think maybe like 10 minimum. You don't need to do 50, but it's totally up to you. And in saying this, there might be some ways to cheat the system here. Sometimes if you do it on a mobile device versus a laptop, you can get more or less characters. So play around with it to see what you can do. So this is where we get into what do we actually need to have a star profile? And honestly, it's a lot. And if you haven't done this all, it might seem overwhelming. So just bear with us here, okay? You do need to put some time aside to work on this all. And it's going above and beyond what you write in your resume because this is the personality part. You actually get to put your own pizzazz into this. So make sure your profile picture looks inviting and fun, right? Have a smile, have it just be you. If you don't know someone who has good camera skills, you can use AI that will generate a photo for you if you want. You can also get your name pronunciation put onto your LinkedIn profile, which is amazing for recruiters that might, I don't know, if you have a name, sometimes my name people pronounce wrong. So I think this is amazing so that people can feel comfortable saying like, hey, Remy, right away versus having to have that awkward, did I say that right? The other thing you can do is with your background photo, you can turn this into a visual representation of your values potentially. Go on Canva, put a quote in there, your personal tagline, or some other ways that you want to showcase who you are. And you can also have that match your profile picture. I think if you do that, it just stands out really well. Another thing that you really need to be able to have is a personalized URL. So it shortens it down and you can, mine's like / Remy Bigelow. When I go to a networking event or I'm in a chat here, I could just paste it in really quick and it's easy for people to click and find me. The next section is the headline. That's really important on your profile. It's sort of that what draws you in, your quick elevator pitch of that 220 characters of what is it that you do? Like, who are you? Very quickly. Then we get into our about section, which is just like a summary about you. You write this in the first person, ideally, which is different than a resume. We're able to add more personality in, add a couple things that are quirky about you, but keep listing in like your contact info, your work portfolio, a website if you have one, and any of those like high level wins that you want people to see right off the bat. The other thing that you have is a featured section. So you can add things in here and sort of make it a mini portfolio. If you've made work aids, presentations, special posts that you have on LinkedIn, you can put that and feature it at the top so people can see it right when they click into your profile. I love that. And then you have your activity feed. And this is different than Facebook. Activity feed, this records everything that you do on LinkedIn. Every like, every comment, every post that you make, other people can see, which, is great to show that you're being active because that's what we want people to see is an active profile. But just remember, whatever you're liking and commenting on, if it's not good and is viewed bad, then, that's going to hurt maybe your professional reputation, right? So being careful about that. Then we move into the experience section and you're not copying and pasting this area from your resume. And we go into more details of this later. This is just like high level, what is your checklist here to have like the star profile. Your experience section should have like a small summary of what your role is and then a couple bullet points of like, this is what I did amazing in it. And then you move to your education section. Always tell people don't have graduation years in there. No one needs to know your age. Keep that out. You can say what high school you went to if you want, but no one needs to know the years of things. People do the math too easily and make assumptions. So then we move into the skills section, which we talked about having at least 10 ideally skills. And being an L&D, put in the skills that are like most useful for your role, right? So if you're doing project management all the time, put project management as a skill. And the cool thing about the skill section is you can also do skill assessments. So for things like Excel, you can actually have it verify that you know how to use Excel, which helps recruiters when they are looking at things. Make sure you list your industry, your location, try and have a bunch of connections. We say 500 plus. And then lastly, having recommendations that you give and get from other people. And that can be from managers, people that you supervised, or even coworkers or people that you work like on a cross collab team with who aren't in your department, but worked on a project with you. And there are other areas you can add in as well, like volunteering or certificates and training, but those are extras. This is sort of the basic profile.
Right. So there, like Remy said, there are many parts to the profile. Looking at this list and even just hearing that overview is kind of a lot of information to take in. We are not going to go into more detail on all of these sections. So that was a good like high level highlighting of what all of them are and what you can do with them. But we are going to spend some time tonight focusing in on a couple of these sections and how you can improve them. And I think just a couple things for that name pronunciation and the personalized URL. Those are two things that if you go onto your profile and look in the settings, those are things that aren't super common. Like I don't see a ton of people using the name pronunciation, but it's just right under your profile picture. You should be able to find that. And the personalized URL is through your settings. If you haven't done that, you can look it up and find a tutorial on how to do that, I'm sure. All right, so the headline is going to be the first section that we are going to zoom in on and talk about a bit more. And oh, I see we have a hand up. Is that a question?
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah. If you can go back one slide, that personalized URL, is that, can you just give me a definition of that? Because I'm old school here, so I don't know exactly what it is. Is that an actual website that you maintain and manage?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. So when you sign up for LinkedIn and create a profile, they automatically assign you to a URL that just has a bunch of like random characters at the end. And that's the default, but you can go in through your settings on your profile and decide to make the end of your URL for your LinkedIn profile, whatever you want it to be. So like I've made it /Nicole Dumang. So for whatever reason, the default is just very long and convoluted, but then you are able to go in and change it. Some people make it like the name of their consulting business or just their first and last name, but you can personalize that URL that just when you share with people, takes them directly to your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, so it's a URL for your LinkedIn profile, not for a URL site for a business you might own or
Right.
your own personal. Okay, thank you.
Just within LinkedIn, just the regular profile, but you can have an easier way to share that link.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you I'm glad you asked that because I'm sure other people had the same question. All right, so zooming in again on the headline, which is that line that is right underneath your profile picture. Some people use this space just to say like their job title and the company that they work at. And I think for people who are not in a state of transition, that works fine. But what is often recommended is to use it more as a space to kind of get across that personal brand we've been talking about and to have more of a visual elevator pitch for what you bring to the table, not just the company that you work at and the specific job title you have, but to be a little bit more creative in communicating the value that you bring. So these are some examples, some templates that you could use. Some of them are a little bit more oriented towards the like LinkedIn creator or LinkedIn, content creator persona kind of person, but some of them are just helpful for anyone who wants to use it to apply to their professional background. So we are going to spend some time actually looking at each other's headlines, but these are here just to kind of give you some ideas of ways that you could restructure your headline. Another thing to keep in mind is you have the 220 characters to make your headline, but then when you are interacting on LinkedIn, like this is a screenshot of Remy commenting on a post that I made about this event. it gets cut off and you show up with a small version of your picture, your name, and then just the beginning of your headline. So though you have more space, just know that when you are showing up in comments, in other people's feeds, that just the beginning part will be what is visible. So you want to think about putting the most important things at the beginning of the headline.
So we got some examples for you. We went and creeped people's LinkedIn's who are in L&D or, some career coaches because they do it really well. And these are real people's headlines that you might be connections with as well, that did it really well. And I think it's important when we look at examples to see like, how are people writing it who are in the field with us? So a more basic one on this list is the like learning and development leader, strengths finder, disc instructional design. That's very basic, right? But then other ones have added in like emojis or different types of fonts or, interesting things about them, like they were an author of something, like wins that they have or the industry that they focus on or who their audience is. So we just wanted you to have some examples here of what other people are doing with their personal branding. So with that, we want to get you all working on your own. So I am going to put into the chat a Google Doc. And what I would like you to all do is go to your LinkedIn profile and copy your headline that you have right now. And we're going to take 2 minutes. You're going to put it in the headline column. And if you want to put your LinkedIn profile URL in the second column, you can. If you don't have a headline, take the 2 minutes to write one really quick. It can be rough. And then we're going to take 10 minutes to do group feedback. So we're going to anonymously, you don't have to sign your name to it. Just write in everyone's like the box beside it, just like add on to the bullet points for that person's headline, the positives and then constructive feedback that you have. Would you understand who that person is based on the headline? Would you want to click into their profile and read more? So just, yeah, let's take 2 minutes now. I'm watching the clock. And then we'll start the group feedback. If you have questions, please ask.
Since it is a Google Doc, just be mindful that as people are typing, that you're not like typing over, deleting someone else's. Maybe go to a few boxes below to add in yours. Oh, wow. A lot of people are already getting in there. Awesome. Laura, did you have a question? I thought I saw you saying something while you were muted.
No, I found it. I was trying to find where the document was, so I found it.
Okay. Well, I guess if you've already pasted yours in, you can start writing the feedback. Just pick a person and start going and then move on to the next person once you've gone in.
I feel like we should have set up some music for this thinking working.
It's okay.
Is your cat going to sleep?
Yeah, he wants out.
Remy, can you drop that link again because someone just joined? Hi, Lori. I think you just logged on. We are just giving each other feedback on our headlines from our LinkedIn profiles right now. Remy just sent the link in the chat. It looks like you're on a phone, so it might be hard to toggle between Zoom and that Google Doc, but we're just getting some ideas on how we can strengthen our personal brand in our LinkedIn headlines. And so we'll probably just take another couple minutes on this, and you'll also have this document. We'll send it. Something I meant to say at the beginning, we will be sending the slides in a PDF version and the recording after this event. And we can also reshare the link to this document, so you'll have it afterwards if you want to add in any other feedback for anyone, or just look at the feedback that you received after we end tonight as well. I appreciate all of the feedback that people are adding. Maybe check if there's someone who hasn't gotten quite as much feedback, you could add something else in. Once we wrap up, we're going to take just a minute or two to share any kind of key takeaways, big picture, things you noticed. One thing I am noticing that I am definitely guilty of myself is that it is very common to use the word passionate in these kinds of things, like passion for, passionate about. And I think I have that in mind right now as well. Or I might have changed it to driven to instead of passion for, because it's just so common. But it's something to keep in mind that is a word that is overused so much in this context that it starts to lose its meaning a little bit, I think.
Nicole, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I guess I'm pleasantly surprised about the word passionate and the response I'm getting from the group, but I'm surprised because while you're passionate about everything, is it too vague? Or when you say driven, is it too vague? And how does that translate to your audience you're trying to get to? I like it because mine is, again, you're passionate about all things, but then from a hiring perspective, passionate about what is it? I guess my question is it too vague?
Yeah, I think there will be varying opinions on that. And I think some people have a strong opinion that the word passionate should be left out because it's not communicating enough. It's not specific enough. It's just kind of a buzzword. I think a lot of people still use it and it still helps to convey the thing that you really care a lot about. But I don't know. Does anyone have a thought on that? I feel like it's one of those things I've seen a lot of LinkedIn influencers mention that it's overused, so it does kind of lose its impact.
I think my personal opinion is that like maybe the word passionate could be used in the headline rather in the summary or about section rather than like in the headline. From what I've learned from a career coaching person, typically like in LinkedIn profile, like a job title and the organization that you work for would be sufficient. On my end, I kept my headline vague because I'm going through a career transition. I'm on the fence of whether I want to stay in learning and development or if I want to pivot directly to product management. So I couldn't really like put what I've historically done just all in L&D space. I had to kind of like keep it vague, but sufficient enough to kind of like alert that like I'm interested in product. So it depends on where you are in your career. You may have to kind of like pivot to worlds or elaborate depending on what you need to do.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that brings up a really important point that people use LinkedIn for very different reasons, depending on where you are in your career, or what moment you're in terms of job hunting or securely in a position that you don't have any intention of leaving. And I think, the headline can be used in different ways depending on what your goals are. And I know something that came up in our resume workshop is there's also this balance of if you are looking for a job, but your employer doesn't know that, And that is something to take into consideration as well when thinking about how you brand yourself. But I think in general, Ryan, you bring up a good point that when you are in a job hunt or a moment of transition, you want the headline to be more about what you bring to the table and not just what your previous job title was. If that is something that you're able to change without interfering with your current employer's looking at your profile. But yes, it can definitely be used in different ways in different moments, depending on your goals with LinkedIn at the time. And I
wonder if we can just screen share quick to show
yes,
a
I will do
profile
that.
to show where it is.
So I just opened up my profile. I didn't put my headline in the doc, and it probably could use some work, but what we're talking about with the headline is just you have your profile picture. This is the cover photo or banner, and then right underneath here is the headline. So if you want to just copy and paste your own to put it in the doc, you can do it that way. To edit yours, you just click here and then you can change it. I think by default, LinkedIn does set it as like your job title at your current company from the experience section down below, but then you can go in and edit it. And I saw someone asked about when that was changed. I'm not sure, but I think it is definitely, a lot of people still just use it as job title at company, but you can be more creative with it now. Kelly, you have a
Kelly?
question?
Yes, sorry. I have a question. If I'm going to be messing around and playing with my profile and updating it, I don't want it to go out to my employer. I don't want it to go out to my feed that I've changed my profile and updated stuff. So where is that setting? I used to know where it is, and now I can't find it because they've added so many settings to LinkedIn. I can't find it. So before we touch our profiles, I want to make sure that that is off.
Yes, that is a great question. My understanding is that when you make a change, like to your experience, your work experience, for example, when you click save, it will then ask you, do you want to make this a public post or not?
Okay, so they changed it then from what it used to be. I think it used to be automatically, and it was a setting somewhere. So maybe they've now put it a little, maybe got so many complaints that it was a setting.
Oh wait, Remy, it says
Yeah, I haven't seen it as I've only had it do that pop up to me when I've made it. What?
Okay.
Sorry?
Okay. I mean, I've been using LinkedIn for a lot of years. So
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I've only had it do the pop up to me.
I can answer that question. I actually just recently updated my LinkedIn profile. And when I made a modification in my experience, it does give you a pop-up message saying, do you want to notify your network?
okay.
And I would say no or decline.
Okay.
So that's, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, when you hit save, it'll give you a prompt whether
Fantastic.
to
Okay.
publish.
Okay.
And I think that's mostly for experience. Something like editing your headline, I think that wouldn't even be something that would pop up because that isn't typically like it wouldn't create a post to tell everyone, hey, I changed my headline. That's more like if you've added a new job experience or a new education like degree that you've earned. But for the headline, I'm pretty sure if you edit it, it shouldn't alert anyone. I think just by default.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'm sure.
Sure.
I'll have that on their mind as well.
I've actually hesitated. I need to do some updates, and I haven't been updating because I couldn't find the setting. But of course, I didn't do any updates, so I never clicked save. So I never got the message. So
Yes, it's a nerve-wracking moment when you're not sure if it's going to make it public or not.
right.
Oh no.
Okay.
Well, let's keep going into it. We'll send the link after so you can, in case you like lose the Google Doc link, so you can go back and read what other people wrote for others as well. Get a feel for what other people are writing about themselves.
Yeah, I think it's a great just to have all the examples from the group here to see what other people's headlines look like. And now that you're thinking about it a little bit more as you're scrolling through LinkedIn, take that extra moment to see people that are in your feed, what they're saying on their headline, how they're using that space. All right, so moving from the headline section, thank you everyone for providing that feedback to each other. We are now going to transition into the about section, which is the really like biggest, meatiest part of your LinkedIn profile. And it's a place where you are talking about your experience, your work experience, but you can also make it more personal and more friendly than like a resume document. So it's a place, like Remy said, where you can speak in the first person, really be authentic, and try to make it sound like a compelling story that people want to keep reading. So there is this point, and on the next slide, we're going to show you a picture to show exactly what we're talking about. But there's this idea of above the fold and below the fold on a LinkedIn profile, where the beginning of your about section, I think you have it's 4 or 5 lines, and it'll vary if you're looking on a mobile or computer while you're on LinkedIn, but there's just the first few lines of your about section that are always going to be visible on your profile. And then for people to keep reading, they will need to click see more. And even though it's just a little click, and when you're looking at your own profile, you probably click on it automatically and don't really think about it. When there's a recruiter looking at your profile or someone who's just kind of breezing through your profile, you need to really hook them in those first few lines to get them to want to click see more and read the rest. So the thing you want to have at the top is a hook, something that's really engaging, gets their attention, wants them to learn more. And then in the main section, you want to have a good description of what you do, what you've done in the past, what you're looking to do next. You might add in some personal details to make it like you're more of a whole real person. And then if you want, you can add things like your email or contact information, website at the bottom. And we have an example that we can show you with all of these elements too. So this is what I mean about the above the fold. This is a screenshot from someone's about section on LinkedIn. So this little ... see more over here is what you want to get people to click. So at first, even though you've put all this time into writing this whole thing, this is all that people are going to see unless you've really gotten their attention to get them to keep reading more. And then once you click see more, this is kind of the length of a more full about section. And this is one idea of how you could structure it. So you want to make sure that above the fold section is really engaging and draws them in. Then you have a bit of a kind of overview description of yourself, some accomplishments and things that you are proud of. If you want, you can add in those personal fun facts, some details to explain a little bit more about who you are. And then you can also add in this contact info here. I think LinkedIn actually just recently changed it, so you can also add links under your profile picture. So that's another thing to explore, but this is another place you can put those links as well if you want people to engage with additional content. So that was the about section, which there's a lot that goes into the about section. There are many people on LinkedIn, and if you just search for it, that have ideas about how to write a really compelling about section. And now we're going to keep it moving after we've talked about it just a little bit and go into the experience section. So this is the section that most resembles your resume. It's where you go through and talk about the work experiences that you have had. Something important to note, we talked about this in the resume workshop too. It doesn't always have to be official job titles that you had with a company. Sometimes people will put volunteering roles in this section too, and that is totally valid. You get to define your experience. But one way to structure each of the experiences is a suggestion here. So you have the title, the years that you worked there. You always want to try to link to the actual company if you were working for a company so that their logo shows up, because it just looks more official. And then also people could click on the company directly from there if they want to learn more about it. At the top, you can have a small paragraph just kind of summarizing what your role was. And then you really want to use the space to focus in on your achievements, not just a job description of what you did, but how you made an impact and what you did really well to really showcase the value that you brought to that team. All right, so we're just kind of checking through these sections. That was the experience section. Oh, another thing to keep in mind with the experience section, similar to the about section where you have to click see more, in the experience section, if you have lots of different roles in your experience, there are only a few that will be listed on the first page of your profile, and people will again have to click that see more to see the ones that are older. So you might want to think strategically about keeping some of the ones at the top a little bit shorter if there's one that you really want to make it to that first section before someone has to click to see more. Now, right below your about section, there's this other section of your profile called the featured section. These are two different images. This side is a screenshot of someone's profile of their featured section. And this is kind of a little call out of what it looks like when you're adding to your own featured section. So what's really cool about the featured section is that you can highlight different types of things that you have worked on. You can either highlight posts from LinkedIn. So if you wrote a post that had really great content or had really great engagement, like it went viral, for example, if you had a post that ever went viral, or a post that's just like your introduction post that's really telling people about you and what you're looking for, then you can feature that. So anytime someone comes to your profile, it will show up in this section. On other social media like Facebook, everything that you post just kind of stays on your profile. On LinkedIn, if you don't feature it, once you make a post, it is harder to look at it again later. Like it doesn't live on your profile in the same way unless you feature it. But you want to use the featured section just for your best stuff. So not every post you make, but really the things that when someone's looking at your profile, you want them to know about you. You can also add, if you've written an article or been quoted or interviewed in an article, you can add that as a link right here in your featured section. You can add a link to something like your portfolio or your personal website. You can add a link so that people can get to that right from your profile, and they'll see a snapshot of what it looks like before they go to it. So it's not just a plain URL like in your about section. You can also add media. So I've seen some people use this to add a PDF of their resume right on their profile, or any kind of job aids or things, presentations, things that you have created that you think would highlight your skills well. There are 5 different featured posts that you can have on your profile that are visible. So there's 3 right when you look. You can click an arrow and see 2 more. And then again, there's that moment where people would have to click see more to see your longer list. So try to think about what are my like top 3 things I want featured, 2 bonus ones, and then anything older than that, it takes more effort to get to, and people might not do those extra clicks. All right, we have another question. Yes, Kelly.
Hi. So I was wondering, since we're all in L&D, and what do people put here? There's people I follow, but they're constantly posting, and so they have all their posts here. I'm not a huge posting person on LinkedIn, and so what are some ideas for somebody that is an instructional designer or somebody who works in L&D? What would you put there? Like, or what have people seen?
I would put if you're like an instructional designer and it's okay to share, or it's your own like portfolio and it's okay to share out some of the stuff you've made, I would put it there. I would link to it, have it linked to your personal portfolio, or like upload it as media. If you've done a presentation or a recording, I've seen people, if they facilitated a training, they put a clip of that in there. If you created a job aid, or maybe a link to if you create like a leadership program or a leadership capability model for your company, like put that in there, like highlighting
Okay.
whatever work you're really proud of that you're allowed to share out.
Which is 0 at my work, so.
Oh no,
Okay.
okay.
Oh no, I can't share anything.
Yeah,
Sign that, save my life away.
Does anyone else have another way they've used it? I know that is limiting if you can't put the materials from your job on there. but-
Hi, I'm Marie Spark. I mean, I give a lot of talks, so I guess a lot of times when you give a talk to an organization, there's a link that's kind of a permanent link either to a recording. So that's what I have. But I would also recommend, for those of you who don't have that, is using an article. I would highly recommend writing a little article. So those of you, it sounds like you're an instructional designer, write an article about instructional design or something that's cool. And here's the thing, if you post it, one of the things when I posted articles, I don't get a lot of attention when I post it, but I've actually had an article or 2 of my LinkedIn profile where later on when people connect with me, they've mentioned having read the article. So that's one thing I'd suggest.
Okay. I guess I got to get busy at writing articles on LinkedIn.
Even if you do, I would just say
work.
I would just say, Kelly, I would just say do a little art, like one article that features the best of what you're doing, of what you're able to do. And just one article that puts enough, it doesn't have to be a lot. And then that's something though, that someone, when they go there, it's like they see a little portfolio of you in the feature. That's what I'd say.
Okay. Well,
Can
I just thought of an article idea, so I definitely will write it.
can I backtrack? Kelly, if I can ask, is what is the reason you can't provide your work samples from your previous employment or opportunities?
Why?
Yes.
Oh, because I signed an NDA and I signed
Oh.
my entire life away when I joined a medical device company.
Oh.
Everything I do is owned by them, man.
Oh, okay. I guess my question, can you modify the content to make it really vague, but still showcase your skills?
Oh, well, yeah, I have to sign up for Storyline on my own time to.
Oh, okay.
I let when I stopped being a consultant, I let my Storyline 360 expire. And so, but when I'm getting ready to go back to consulting, that was one of the costs of startup costs is updating my portfolio and my website. So, but before then, I want to start writing some articles and getting some, background. So I have some history to my LinkedIn.
Yeah, I love that everyone is sharing those ideas and already coming up with
Thank you.
things we can take away. So thank you everyone for jumping in on that.
Thank you. I
think
appreciate it.
also, it can just be a LinkedIn post like introducing yourself, or a post that you made about an L&D topic that you're passionate about, and then you feature it here. Whether it has a lot of likes on it or not, it's just a way that people can hear your voice and hear you be an expert on your area of expertise.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so that was about the featured section, and now we're going to keep it moving.
So we keep hearing keywords. How do I get visibility? How do recruiters find me? I need keywords everywhere. Sort of the case, you do, but let's be strategic about where we put the keywords, right? And a great tip for you, we made a little word cloud here. We took a bunch of job descriptions for jobs roles that we were interested in, put them all together and let the word cloud tell us what the keywords were. And then use those, like pick out the top 5 or 10 in there, like program management, project management, training, facilitation, have it do the work for you. And then spread it out, spread the keywords in the header, the about section, a couple in the experience, but don't just chunk them all together. Like show how you're using those skills and keywords throughout your whole thing. Again, it's that whole narrative you want to show from start to finish in your headline, all the way into your recommendations, like that you're doing the things that are popping out for the jobs that you want or the job that you already have.
And some more background on like why this is important. There's a whole separate side of LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, that is LinkedIn Recruiter. And when recruiters are sourcing candidates, they are getting profiles that are pulled up to them, often based on these keywords that show up in your profile, whether it's in your job titles, in your headings, or anywhere in your profile. So that is one way that you can get more visibility to your profile.
And I just discovered, by the way, if any of you work at companies that have LinkedIn, like I'm a LinkedIn admin, apparently I can take the whole course on how to be a recruiter in LinkedIn. So I'm looking at the back side of the house, and I was like, oh, so this is what they see. So I'm kind of starting to take that course so I can understand how LinkedIn works from the recruiter side. So
Yeah,
if any
So
of
smart.
you,
I love it.
I know.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful perspective to know what they're searching for on their side, to know what to optimize for on your end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, visibility. We talked about creating content that's showing your credibility, the topics that are, in the industry, having people interact with that. Use hashtags. Nicole's going to show you a bit more about like how to do search, but adding hashtags to your posts. I could just search on LinkedIn by that, like a talent development hashtag, and then I would come across your post, even though we might not be connected to each other. If your profile is not public, make sure it is so people can find you. And if you're looking for work, click the open for work button. So that's just quick on visibility.
Yes. So the hashtags you can also follow. So if you search hashtag learning and development in the search bar at the top, and that's the type of content you want to keep seeing in your feed, just like you can follow a person, you can also follow a hashtag. So when people use that hashtag, it'll show up in your feed. For some reason, I have a glitch on my LinkedIn that whenever I search for a hashtag, all of the results come up in Spanish. And I haven't been able to fix that, but I hope none of you have that problem. Right.
So we've talked about your activity feed. Make sure that you're being active and connecting with not just, your content and commenting and replying to people who comment on yours, but like other people's content, thank other people for posting it and sharing. Reply, ask questions, tag other people, share it around. This is part of a community, so you want to be part of the L&D community on LinkedIn, right? So make sure that you're interacting and giving back. And again, like we said, whatever you like or comment on will show back and be tracked to your profile. So be respectful and professional.
Yeah, and like I said, we're not going to touch too much on content creation in this workshop. I think that could be a whole other hour, and there are many people who give a lot of advice on LinkedIn on how to write better content on LinkedIn. But just a couple quick tips if you are someone who is wanting to post a little bit more. When you make a post, it is best not to include a link in the body of a post because that it drops your engagement. LinkedIn doesn't like when a link is directing traffic away from their site. So they will make it visible to fewer people if you have that link in the body of your post. So if you're sharing an article or something like that, you can mention it in the post and then put the actual link in a comment instead to make it more visible to people. Another thing to know when you make a post, that first about an hour or so right after you post is a really crucial time in terms of engagement. So if you just post and walk away and don't look at it again until the next day, it won't meet as many people's eyes as if you stay attentive right after you post and respond to people's comments in that first hour. So if someone comments, you want to make sure you react, reply, and that helps to boost the engagement of your post to get it in front of more people. There was one other thing. Oh, also the LinkedIn algorithm really rewards people who post regularly. So if you post every day, you will start to see more engagement on your posts. I have found this to be a very brutal game that I played for a while and decided to back out of because the algorithm, it feels like it can be kind of punishing. Like you'll start to get a following, and if you fall off for a couple of days, the next time you post, you'll get much less traction. But it's just something to note that there are lots of little intricacies to the way the algorithm decides to boost posts. So sometimes you're going to make a post and it's going to have like 2 people like it. And then some days you might make one that has a bunch of likes and it'll feel really good, but it's kind of a roller coaster to be aware of how that works on LinkedIn. And we didn't really talk about specifically, but the activity section on your profile, which is under the featured section we showed, is where people can go in and see any posts that you have liked or commented on. So just another reminder that anything you interact with on LinkedIn is public, and it is also a way that you have power to help spread content. So anytime you like a post, that means anyone who follows you might now get to see that post in their feed as well. So if Remy follows someone who is sharing really great content and she likes it, because I'm connected with Remy, I will now see that content in my feed. And that's how you can start to kind of build your network and find other people you want to follow. So your interactions are tracked back to you, and they're also a way that you can help share content that you think is helpful for other people.
Is the activity section always visible? Do you have any control over that at all?
I don't think you do.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. Like you have to be, unlike on other social networks like Facebook, Instagram, the things that you like aren't like listed on your profile. On LinkedIn, you really have to be strategic. There might be posts that are like a personal interest of yours that you like actively in your brain, but you might not want to actually click the like because that will now be part of your professional track record. Remy, do you have something else to add there?
No, I think we're ready. Maybe we will leave the video in the PDF that we send you afterwards so you can watch it. Just wanting to be mindful of time. I want us to get to like looking at all your profiles. So watch the video. It's a good one.
Okay, yeah. So we will share these slides. You can watch the video on your own time. It has some tips about using LinkedIn, but I am going to go into some of them directly. And then yes, this time has gone very fast because we've had some great questions and conversation, but we do want to keep going. So there we go. Okay, so we've talked about the profile and how you can create a dynamic story to tell about yourself through your LinkedIn profile. We've talked a little bit about content creation and how you engage with content and have a presence on LinkedIn. And now that third part of LinkedIn is how to use it as a networking tool. And I'm going to go through a few examples now of using the LinkedIn search function because it can be really powerful in helping you to come in contact with better connections and opportunities. So I'm just going to switch to actually showing you on LinkedIn how to use the search function to get more specific results for what you are looking for. So the first thing to know is that there are Boolean search operators that you can use on LinkedIn to fine tune the results that you're getting, whether you're searching for a job, searching for people, searching for companies, and you have to use it capitalized. So I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like, but the options are and, or, not, and then putting things in parentheses. And when you're using the and, or, not, it should be all capitalized. So for example, first thing I want to show you is if you were, there's two ways that I've used this recently. One is when I have applied for a job and it didn't work out for me, I'm curious to follow up and see who did they end up hiring and what was their background like, so I can learn a little bit more about what was the profile of a candidate they were looking like for that role. So an example of a job that I looked up or that I applied to recently was, I was practicing earlier, so I have some of my history in here. Sorry, I thought that was going to be easier to click on. Okay, so if I just type in Learning Development Coordinator Chegg, that's the company and the job title, I'm going to get some results that come up, but they're not very specific. So like this person, I don't know why she came up with that. She doesn't have that job title or that company. This person is a learning and development coordinator at Chegg, but that's not who I'm looking for. I interviewed with her, so I know she is not new. I'm looking to see, did they hire someone new recently? If you just use the search bar and haven't specified anything yet, it's showing you all types of content. So people, posts, jobs, companies, and it shows a highlight of each section. So it'll show you a few people, it'll show you a few posts, but these posts are really not relevant at all to what I just typed in. So what I want to do is to go in and make it more specific by adding parentheses around learning and development coordinator. So I'm not just looking for learning or coordinator, which have come up. I'm looking for the title learning and development coordinator. So I'm going to add parentheses around that. I'm going to add and with caps and the company name again. And now the results that are going to come up are going to be very different. They're going to be a lot more specific and there's going to be a lot fewer results, but that's because I really want to hone in on what I'm trying to find. So this again is that person that I did interview with, but not who I'm looking for. But if I keep going down, I now have found this post of the person that they just hired. So I can see that she made this post, she got that position. Now I can click through her profile and learn a little bit about her and her background to see more about what were they looking for in the profile of the candidate for this role. So I will say a caveat for that one, don't do this just to torture yourself, but really as a learning experience. And you always know there are many reasons why someone could have gotten the job over you. Maybe there's an internal referral, who knows? But it can just be helpful to look at and see, okay, who ended up getting that position I was really interested in? What was their background like? How can I kind of keep building towards that? Another way you can use these Boolean search terms is when you are looking for a job. So in the jobs section, when you are searching for job descriptions, sorry, my computer is a little slow. I could just type in the search bar here, learning and development coordinator, or just learning and development, and that would come up with some results. But another way you can do it to really hone in on roles that are more relevant to what you're looking for is to use key skills that you're hoping to find in a role. So for an example, I came up with earlier, I'm interested in onboarding. I'm interested in a company that cares a lot about company culture and a role that is impacting building company culture and employee experience. So I can type in onboarding and culture and employee experience instead of a job title. And when I type that in, I will get still a list of open job descriptions, but they're just going to be a lot more tailored to what I'm looking for. So you can play around, choose all the different skills or keywords that you would hope to see in a job description. And when you put that in, it will hopefully give you a better list of open jobs. Another tip I learned recently is if you see a job that sounds similar to what you're interested in, but for some reason you're not going to apply, it is still helpful to click save because then you're training the LinkedIn algorithm to give you more relevant results in the future. So even if it's like in a different location or something that's not relevant to you, clicking save tells LinkedIn, like, I want more jobs like this, and it refines the results for you even more. Okay, so those are two ways to use those Boolean search terms to get more specific results. Another way is if you see a job description and it mentions the title of the hiring manager, but not the name of the hiring manager, you can put that title into quotes and the company, and use that in the search to try and find who that hiring manager is, to maybe be able to reach out to them or just learn a little bit more about them before you meet them. So the main way that people go about searching for jobs on LinkedIn is through this jobs tab. But another really great way is to use the regular search function, not within the jobs tab, to look up posts where people have said, hey, I'm hiring for this position. So another way to do that is to type in learning. Okay, I did it right here. So you can see in the second thing in my history, I put in learning development coordinator in quotes because I want that exact title, or, and I want to have the or capitalized, learning and development specialist and hiring. So I'm going to search for all three of those terms because I'm fine if it's a coordinator or a specialist, and I want it to involve hiring. I'm going to change these just to make sure that it's doing exactly what I want it to do, to capitalize. All right, so now results will come up with jobs, but what I really want you to try with this is to narrow it down to posts. So you're going to click on posts after you've searched for the titles you're looking for and hiring. I don't recommend changing the sort by setting. This is really what helps keep things relevant. If you sort by latest instead, it starts to give a lot of like spammy posts that aren't really relevant. But I do recommend sorting by date posted. So if I'm looking for a post of a person saying, hey, I'm hiring for this role, I want it to be something recent and not something from 8 months ago. So I will change it to this past week. Sorry that my computer is moving very slowly, but now you'll see some posts from people who either are posting to a job board or hiring managers saying, hey friends, I am hiring for this role. So this is a great way, instead of just finding it through the jobs tab where you see 300 people have applied in the first hour. This is where you'll see a hiring manager directly making these posts. And now that's someone you can reach out to if you're interested in applying. It's a way that you can learn more about the company and hear a little bit more directly from them about what they're looking for in this position by reading these posts. And hopefully it's more relevant to what you're looking for. There was one other thing I was going to show, but Remy, should we skip that and get into the profile review? Okay, so I will stop there, but I have lots of tips. If anyone ever wants to reach out and learn some more things like that, if that felt helpful, feel free.
So let's just jump into the profile review, and then we'll see how much time we have after. We'll keep, sharing and answering questions. And like Nicole said, if you're around, just message us. Okay, so how we're going to do this is you're going to go into breakout rooms and you're going to share your LinkedIn profile URL. You're not going to share your screen. Everyone can pull up your profile on their own computer. And when it's your time, so we're going to give each person 2-minute allocation. People are going to have the 2 minutes for your profile to read it over and give you feedback. That can be oral feedback, or you can put it in chat and just like write as you see things. We're going to do one example really quick together here. Is there a brave person who wants us to do it as a group, like an abbreviated version with the whole group here? Yeah, Julie? Yeah, post that LinkedIn URL and we'll do it. So when she posts that, everyone click into the profile. I'll give mine verbally, my feedback, as I just like read through it to sort of like show you what I'm looking for, but everyone else can just type in the chat like feedback as you see it. Okay, going to your profile. Oh, my first impression is, yeah, you look very friendly. It's a great profile picture. I think that's perfect. I like your headline. That's all there. Okay, your about section, I think it can be a little longer. I think there's an opportunity to put some like more wins and highlights and accomplishments in there. Oh, I really like how you did the skills section for your experience. I think maybe you could add a couple. Oh, no, I just pressed see more. Okay, this might be a little long for me to read, but I like how you put like good chunks of things in there. Like I handled this much budget. I love that. Um, wow, you've done so much here. My gosh. Okay, great profile example. If you want to remove the years of your education, you can. You've done some great volunteering. Maybe get another recommendation or two. I think that could be good. And then I see you have a publication. I'm not sure. I don't see anything under like featured. So maybe add some featured things as well. You could even tag and link that up there so people can see it. Oh, no one's written anything in the chat. I've just been chat. Okay.
Also,
Well, that was my quick. Yeah.
if it's
Thank
possible
you.
for health solutions or health promotion solutions, if you can add the actual company account, if they're on LinkedIn, then that will look better than oh, they're not on LinkedIn. Okay, got it.
That was our quick example. When you go into the breakout room, 2 minutes, people will give you more feedback, but that's quickly like what you're doing. Write down in the chat or verbally with whoever. Make sure you have a timer person. Maybe that will help. Nominate one person in your group to like time each person for 2 minutes.
I would maybe like put,
All right.
what is
Welcome back,
LXD?
everyone.
Sorry, Eric and James, that we didn't really finish you guys.
Yes, I
No
know.
worries.
I had a feeling that
Well-
you did not have enough time because when it came back, nobody had chosen to come back into the main room yet. I could tell you were trying to finish up some conversation. So I'm sorry we didn't have more time in those breakout rooms, but hopefully it was a great conversation.
And we want to offer, if your profile did not get reviewed in that breakout room and you have time, stick around after. Nicole and I will look at your profile, or if you have to head out, just like send one of us a message and we will give you some personalized feedback because we don't want you walking away without a review today. So
Yeah, so
we
can I
will do
just
that
see
for
like
you.
some thumbs? How was that feedback session? All right, awesome.
That's great.
All right,
Anything that you want to share that came out of it?
I mean, I would just say I think it was a really positive experience. I think sometimes when you go into some of that, you kind of worry. And I thought everyone had really good profiles, and just also even just 2 minutes, I think we all got some helpful feedback. So anyway, well done. So very good session, very well structured, and I think we all got something out of it.
That is
Thanks.
excellent to hear. Thank you. All right, we have a
Nicole-
few things we want to share before anyone has to jump off.
Oh,
but
hold on. Eric, just
Go ahead, Nicole. I can ask later.
you can go ahead.
There was a question that came up. Does LinkedIn have the structure fixed? Because we were saying maybe moving the certifications section or your licenses up a little bit, to the top. Does LinkedIn allow you to do that?
Yes, I think that is fixed. That is a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure you cannot change the order of how things are on your profile.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we were hoping to have more time for questions as well. And we will, Remy and I both can stay on a little bit after 7 if people have more questions like that, or just to kind of chat and connect a little bit more. But to be respectful of time, we know this was scheduled to end at 7. So there are a couple of things we just want to share before anyone has to go. We will be sharing these slides. So anything that we didn't get to, you will have a chance to go through. There were a handful of slides we didn't touch on yet. These are some takeaway actions you might think about. And we have some Golden Gate ATD things we want to share with you. Remy, were you going to say something about the resources?
Yeah, just check out the PDF. We found some cool things and we wanted you to have access to them. So they're going to be in the PDF for you. And if you go to the next slide, Nicole, if you're like, I don't know about content ideas, don't worry. Check out some of these sites for like article ideas that you can share and like add your thoughts on top of. So we got you covered there a little bit as well. So in terms of ATD things, we have a feedback survey. You got it in the email that had the incorrect assume link. The links in there for the feedback survey. I just put it in the chat. If you could write some feedback, we'd love it. It's our first go around, our pilot for this. So any changes we could make to make it, better for everyone, we would love to hear. ATD Golden Gate also has some upcoming events that we can tell you about. Nicole, if you could.
Yes.
We have, if you're into like virtual reality, 3D learning, we have an event on May 9th. We have an in-person meetup on the 17th. We have another community group on the 16th, TED discussions. If you're into like roundtable, talent development mastermind, that's on the 31st. If you're a young professional, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome on the 8th with all of California young professional ATD people. And what's not posted is on June 15th. If you could not go to ICE in San Diego this year, and I could not afford to go. So if come to our knowledge sharing event, people who did go are going to tell us what they learned. And if you are going and want to share with the group, we would love to have you. So just some things to look forward to. If you're not a member yet, we do have a discount code for you. It's called Join Today. Join Today. And it's good for 7 days and you get 20% off your ATD Golden Gate chapter membership. So with that, we will stop sharing the screen and open it up for questions. Whatever you want, we're going to hang out here. If you have to go, we loved having you. Thank you.
And also there was one more like very small nugget takeaway LinkedIn tip I wanted to throw out there for anyone who can stay on another moment. When you are connecting with people on your phone, if you just click connect, it's not going to give you the option to send them a message. It will just send a request without any message attached to it. So instead you want to click on the 3 little dots on the side and get this menu to pop up, and you want to click personalize invite instead. And that will be where you can give a brief intro message and then it will send the connection request. If you're on the computer, when you click connect, it will ask you, do you want to send a message with your connection request? But just something to know, if you're on the app on your phone, you need to do this extra step if you want that message. That was my last
And
nugget.
we have some canned like LinkedIn messaging in the PDF for you. So don't be scared. We got you covered. You just have to like fill in the blanks.
Yes.
Okay, with that, thank you so much. Yeah, open the floor.
That last little piece was part of what I was kind of hoping to get a little more about networking tips. So anything you skipped that you want to share?
Oh, yeah.
So-
Maybe Nicole, can you pull up that group slide real quick?
Yeah.
Just something, if you're like looking to find some community moments, this is a list of some, L&D groups that are out there that are really good for networking and like finding other people to connect with or messaging through that. And if people have other ones that they're into, they can throw them in the chat. But Nicole also has a cool tip where, well, Nicole, you share it because I don't know much about it, but I loved it.
Yes, I just learned this recently and it's super helpful. So if you have a premium subscription to LinkedIn, you get in-mail messages where you can message a certain number of people for free. I think it's like 15 messages per month. But if you run out of those, or if you don't want to use one of those, a tip that I just learned, if you are in the same group with somebody, even if you're not connected, say you know someone's name, you found them in your feed and you'd love to message them or connect with them, and you see on their profile where it says you are both in the Learning, Education, and Training Professionals group. You can go to that group and then search for their name in the members list in the group. And if you find them within the group, you can message them directly for free, and you don't need to be connected and you don't need to use an in-mail credit. You just have that way to reach out to them and they can get that directly. Sometimes you don't want to connect right away. Like you want to send a connection request with a message with someone that it makes sense to actually be connected to. I think that was a mistake I made at the beginning on LinkedIn. I have now connected with a ton of people that I don't actually know personally or haven't interacted with. So now my feed is a little convoluted with people I don't actually know, but you want to be more intentional with the connections and use messages whenever you can before you connect, or like commenting on people's posts before you connect to establish that connection before you actually like become friends on LinkedIn.
What about the what about the groups? Like this is where I'm like really kind of dumb about LinkedIn. How do you like, can you find out and sort of lurk on a group before you join it, or do you just join and then you find out what it's all about, or how do you?
Well, they'll have the summaries. They'll have the summaries about it, but I'll say they have thousands of people in it. There is no commitment. Like you can just be a lurker as long as you want. I don't post anything I'm like too scared in the groups, but just there's some good
Yeah,
content.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think groups can have different settings. So the group administrators maybe can have it so it's public, but I think most of the time you have to join before you can see the content. Some groups, I think you can join automatically, some like you have to be approved, but yeah, it's a very low commitment to join a group. It's not like everyone gets a notification that you've joined. You just then will be able to see the content and can interact as you like.
And if you don't like it, it's not like they get a notification that you're leaving either.
But
So
you're leaving, right? Thanks.
It's so true.
Yeah, sneak your way in, sneak your way out, no problem.
Anything else that people are wondering about with LinkedIn or want to share? Maybe you have your own tips. We're here. We're going to hang out, but or
I
if you
just
wanna
wanted to
chat
say
with
this
each
was a
other.
really great session because I've used LinkedIn a long time, but I thought you both, since I know this is a pilot session, I thought you did a really great job of walking through a lot of information in a way that was very engaging and clear. And so thank you for that. And I think it would seem to me really good for anybody. But like even myself, I know LinkedIn really well, and yet there are these things that have changed or I don't remember. So, and the search thing, that is huge. I did not have any idea about that, Nicole. That was fantastic.
Yay, thank you. That's really great to hear. Yeah, a lot of that I learned preparing for this. So it was helpful for me too.
Yeah, and it's what's interesting is because my background's project management, and I really help a lot of people in transition as opposed to me being in transition. And one of the things I hear is job titles have changed a lot. So where people do better finding jobs for project managers is doing those kind of searches where you're really looking for keywords because the job titles are not what you expect. So I'm going to pass along that about the search, your search tips.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's a lot more limiting just to look for one title.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Amanda.
Yeah, this might be too specific, but looking at the news reports and the updates, I have a feeling, unfortunately, it might not be. If you were laid off recently, I'm wondering if anybody has any advice or feedback on helpful ways to let your network know that in a way that's not, I don't know, that actually is helpful. I'm not sure that I have not yet put the open to work on my profile or posted. And I know if I do, I'll get a flood of comments. I'm just not sure they'll actually be, I just don't need 500 plus people saying, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not helpful. So if anybody has any tips on ways that would be helpful to let people know without just bombarding people, I am open to hear it.
I've gotten a bunch of messages from people in my network that are close and not close saying privately to me that I think they've just copied and pasted that they're looking for work. Yeah. And you know what, when they send that, I send them job links that I find. So it makes it more personable.
And I've seen, I haven't commented, but I think that there's something to say, that you're part of the downturn and being transparent, and that you're looking for work. And somebody even said, I'm not really looking for validation because I know I did a great job. What I'm looking for is a job that I need to find it in my next position. And I didn't feel that it was negative. It was just like, you could be helpful by reposting, or if you know of anything. Now there are several L&D people that post. I'm followed too, Kara North, who posts every Tuesday with a long list of jobs and then Lavina is part, but it seems like Lavina's got things for Europe. I finally went to her job board and it was all Europe, unless you belong to the EU or something that you like. But definitely Kara North, I think it's CARA North. She has a weekly Tuesday, I think it comes out on Tuesdays, a weekly list of new positions. And then certainly, ATD has positions. And then I don't know if you're in life sciences, but L10 has positions also. So those are all places to look. And it seems like there's another L&D kind of thought leader that has jobs too. Remy, do you remember who the other person is? She just started.
No, but there's so many that are doing it. I think it's a very common thing now that's an easy give to the community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also just dropped a link in the chat. I think I saw a post recently about like how to make the best post after you've been laid off. And I think it was from this Teal guide. So something to check out.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
And I
everybody.
think just reaching out is not a bad thing, because I think we all want to help each other. Gosh, I wish I had a job open right now. I would hire many of the people that have been laid off. There's instructional designers that are very talented that get laid off from Amazon, and Amazon has had a huge, wonderful, very forward-thinking training group. And I was like, "Oh, they're gold, man." I wish I had a position. So
Yeah.
I think I don't think it's a bad thing to do. And, what is that saying, that any publicity is better than bad, bad publicity is better than, no publicity. So I think location, you're on LinkedIn, you put it out there, and you can start generating leads. But I do have to say that before you do that, you want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is really good, right? You want your resume updated. You want people to recommend you for jobs, like do all that homework. So I totally understand hesitation, Amanda, on your part, that like you're not quite ready to get out there.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Danielle, did you have another question?
I figured I would just share some tips I shared in the small group. I've been working with kind of like a career coach kind of person. And one of the things I said, I'm not really into social media. I'm not like looking to be a LinkedIn influencer or anything like that. So I was really kind of struggling with kind of just wrapping my head around like some of the things, to do with LinkedIn. And so she had suggested to try like just 10 to 15 minutes a day on weekdays, commenting on things, right? And that's it, like low stakes. And so I was sharing with the group, you can turn on content creator mode, which I did, even though I don't want to be a content creator, because it gives you additional analytics that you can see in there. And also I think lets you display hashtags, but I've been doing that for the month of April. And like I said, I'm not, I've gotten connections this way. I've gotten like more people looking at the profile and things like that. So like if you're in groups and you're doing some of this stuff, even just like commenting on things, like I've had like 60 people look at my profile in the last week, whereas like that was like not something that usually happened, like for months when I wasn't doing anything. And it hasn't been too arduous. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like profound stuff, like just kind of like, I don't know how the algorithm works, but it does do something to comment on things. And I feel like for me, that was at least more accessible sounding. I don't know if I'm going to write a newsletter. I don't know if I'm ready to be doing articles or posts or things like that. But, engaging in some conversations can be helpful.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that. I think that's really good advice.
I also am not in the content thing, but I'm working with a mentor right now to try and up my networking. And I was like, I just hate writing. Anyways, I am now going next week to some content creator class that's supposed to give me I paid for it, the templates, to help structure my posts a little bit better to make it easier for me. So there's tons of stuff out there for how to pre-prepare all your posts, 12 months and 12 weeks, I think it's called, or something. So anyways, that's what I'm doing to help myself, because I hate it. And I think I'll be using, ChatGPT a little bit. So
Yeah. So Danielle, are you happy with your career coach?
Yeah, it's kind of through my current jobs, like HR.
Okay.
So it's free and I have access to it, and she's really nice.
Okay.
So, but I don't think she
Okay.
really do outside people.
Okay. Okay.
It's been a good experience in general, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And Remy, I'd love to hear how your class goes, and if you can recommend it. I don't know, maybe you can make a post. I'll connect with you on LinkedIn. You make a post and then I'll know whether the class is worth it. No.
I know.
We'll
It's
comment on
it's
that
taken me a
post.
lot. Yeah. Well, I'll see how it goes. It
So-
looks like it could be spammy. So
Okay.
we'll see
Who's
if
it
it's
through?
real.
What?
As you're all chatting, let me find the email of the guy.
because
Yeah.
my next career move is likely to go back into consulting, and I'm going to need to market myself in order to find jobs. And so I realized that I can't do this job anymore. My job will probably be available in a year. So I can't work like this anymore. So, so I came tonight because I need to start, right? Just like you, Amanda, that you've got to start laying everything out, what your strategy is. And so thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate this class. And I think you could probably do another one about content and more of the social and connecting. And this is very high level, but I think you could do deep dive in LinkedIn.
Yeah, there's so much content to cover. We realized when you were all in the breakout rooms, like, wow, it took longer than we thought because there's a lot to dig into. And I think it could have been broken into multiple even. Yeah. And then there's so much with the LinkedIn algorithm. I kind of mentioned, I spent some time really trying to get traction with posts and being someone who was posting regularly. And it just like is so draining to keep with it because it really does ding you as soon as you stop for a while. But I think the commenting strategy is an excellent one.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
Okay,
then
and I got the link here.
Yeah.
for you
It's
all
less
right there.
commitment to comment instead of making your own post, but that's great, Danielle, to hear that you had like the evidence that a lot more people were viewing your profile as a result. That's reminding me to get back into the commenting.
And commenting, you could use Chat GPT on that too if you're if you're tongue-tied or feeling low. Sometimes I feel low energy and I'm like, but just to generate ideas, it's helpful, and so far so good.
I'll share. I don't know if this is helpful or not, because I'll be honest, I haven't worked up the courage to actually do it yet. But I did meet with one of those career coach people recently too. And their recommendation was, if there's a specific industry you're trying to get into that you're not necessarily in right now. I mean, obviously I've followed thought leaders and industry groups within that field on LinkedIn. But she said, find, if they're smart startups, especially, find the founder and message them on LinkedIn and ask for an informational interview, and go to coffee with them and ask them what they're, what's keeping them up at night and what they are looking for, even if they don't have a position open. And that seems absolutely mind-bogglingly terrifying to me. So I have not actually done it, I will admit. But she said, that works, and you miss 100% of shots you don't take. I don't know. I don't know if it's good advice or not. So take it what you will, but that was the main advice she gave me.
Yeah, I have been doing a lot of that with not necessarily like the founders of startups, but just general informational interviews, like reaching out to people. I see you have this job that I would like to do someday. Would you be willing to set up a quick call to chat? And I've been really surprised, very pleasantly surprised, how many people have responded, how many people have said yes, how many people are just like willing to go above and beyond once they're in those conversations. Like, let me know if you see something at my company, would love to refer you. Like, people really do want to help. And sometimes it's a conversation that's short and like, oh, okay, that was sort of interesting, nothing will come of it. And sometimes it's a connection that then they connect me to someone else and it becomes like a really great person to know. So I definitely recommend that. I think I'm also getting the advice to reach out directly to like co-founders of startups in the hopes of finding more positions, not just information. But yes, in general, I think it has been great to get those informational interviews. And once you do it the first couple of times, I was so nervous at first, and now it just feels like part of my everyday. Like, a ton of people aren't going to respond. Oh, well, like you're in the same position you were before sending it, but a lot of people will be open to it.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. You guys can continue, but thank you so much. And I look forward to coming to more of the ATD meetings this way. It's very convenient than trying to drive on 101 going north or south or try to make it somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, come on out. We'd love to have you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Remy.
Guys.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thanks all. Okay, let me stop the recording.